I am, and this is my stance and it's my position, and I really don't think anybody can convince me I'm wrong at this point. My view ultimately is that none of the people that have ever attacked the Young Turks has ever argued in good faith. And the reason why I think this way is that it would be very, um, and I know that there's a mess on my desktop, I need to move that stuff over. My big frustration is that I just don't trust these people to actually argue in good faith. The people that are attacking him, because our political process has been completely infested with people that love to, make arguments and sort of do attacks and criticisms because they're looking for something else other than what they're, trying to present their agenda as being. People are very good at sort of obscuring what they're really after, and that's one of the bigger problems that we're ultimately faced with, as far as this. But there's been a sort of all-out effort to kind of take the Young Turks down, and why are the knives out for this guy, anyways? Well, I imagine for the longest time it was supposedly about, the Armenian genocide, for instance. Sank tried to do his best to disarm that argument by pointing out that he doesn't really take that point of view anymore. But they weren't satisfied then. The critics and all the shit that they, put forward, which, only goes to show you that the people that were using it in the first place as an argument against the Young Turks probably didn't actually care about the Armenian genocide, because when he did do something to address the issue, what did they do with it instead? They moved the goalposts further back, which just goes to show you an actor that never really truly cared about the genocide and yet wanted to make an argument about it just to stop and shut the Young Turks down because there was something else that they were after. Maybe they are concerned, for instance, that Sank has started, a the Wolfpack, and he's pushing to get money out of politics. Maybe that's really what their true concern is about. Maybe they're they're objecting ultimately to the fact that we're fighting common cause. You know, they want the impractical solution that common cause is pushing for to get money out of politics that will never succeed and is predestined to failure. They want to push that one down, our throats instead. Wait for Congress to give us this bill, even though Congress is so thoroughly, under the sway of money that is in the system ultimately. And meanwhile, you've got all these Crowder fanboys who want to come and toot their horns in our comment section, at the comment section, and tell them how great Crowder is and chill for Crowder. Well, my point of view is that none of these that Crowder only has the amount of money that he ultimately has because he has been a good little puppy telling people to go back to sleep and that everything is okay. The current system is just. Anybody telling you that it's unjust, anybody whispering in your ear that something is wrong with the world you live in is lying to you. Don't worry, you know, because I'm here. I care about you. It's kind of like that whole, song uh, by A Perfect Circle, counting sheep while the bodies drop like, um, counting bodies like sheep, You know that one? He's the creepy bush guy ultimately. He's that motherfucker behind this little creepy. That's who Crowder is. He's telling you, don't worry, you know, about any of that. Go back to sleep. They don't give a fuck about you like I do. That's kind of Crowder's point of view, and what they're pushing ultimately and have been pushing for a long time. You know, these people don't want you to go over to the Young Turks. They don't want you to listen to anybody at all. And it's not just Crowder. It's all the people that are ultimately on Crowder's side as well. These are all the people that want to lull everybody to sleep and tell them that intersectionality is a big problem. They want to lie to them about what intersectionality means. They want to pretend they understand it when they don't understand it. They 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 want to do anything they can possibly do to shut Sank down and to shut those people down, because what they're pushing for would lead to people like, all these oppressed minorities that exist in our country. Like, it would lead to somebody like a black woman, for instance, truly oppressed. If I were to see that as a white guy, for instance, as a poor white guy, I have more in common with a black woman than I do with somebody like Steven Crowder. If that kind of thing started happening, it would be really inconvenient for those in power. So they will do whatever they can to get us fighting each other so that we don't unify and overwhelm and fight back against those with money and power, so that they can keep us fighting each other so that they can run away with all the money in the system. And Steven Crowder is one of their allies in doing the divide and conquer push that they've been doing for a long time. That's how I feel. I and my interest have more in common with a black woman, who is living in the ghetto than they do with somebody like Steven Crowder. We have more in common than me and Crowder could ever have. He wants to keep us fighting each other so that we don't team up and attack him and the people that are trying to lull us to sleep and tell us that the world that we're living in is a just one. This is not a just world. The people that are trying to justify the system, there's something wrong with them. If they don't see the injustice, they're just wrong. This is fun. A lot of these people have probably lulled themselves to sleep too. They go to sleep every night telling themselves that it's a just world, because if they blind themselves to it, they don't have to face the world that I do and wake up to every single day. They are weak. The weak, for instance, that don't want to fundamentally accept a reality like the one that I do, that this is a world in which injustice is fundamentally prevalent inside. That world, that waking hell that I wake up to all the time, I see it all over the place. All the injustice in the world. They don't want that perspective. They don't want that angle, and they will do what it takes to lull themselves to sleep to it. Well, I am the kind of person that doesn't want to give them the shelter anymore. I want them to have their eyes, you know, peeled open so that they can no longer deny the reality that is right in front of them. You know, I know it now. I'm awake. It's the people who don't get it, who still don't get it, who are the problem in today's world. You're damn right. The people that like Vosh that are trying to push in this direction, we're damn right. Me and Vosh, I can tell you, our interest have more in common with the black community than they could ever with people like Ben Shapiro. These little fuckboy tools that are have fallen asleep and are trying to say that this one group of people is better off than, or that only my group of people is oppressed. The worst part, and this is an ugly system in a lot of ways, in which you have people that have just enough privilege, just some privilege, who have to use what little they have to punch down and to punch somebody making even lower than them, so that they don't, and they fight people. They often will be pushed to, ultimately fight people like you who are trying to unify people against, the rich. If you're fighting to basically, get a group of people against the people that have been running away with all the money for year after year after year, they're not going to be happy with you. Steven Crowder is one of the good puppies, and that's why they're throwing money at him, and they will. Anybody that behaves as a right-wing grifter will certainly do well under this system as we press the state in this kind of way, because that's the world we're now living under. It's the world, and Vosh has been pointing out COINTELPRO and all those, efforts by the CIA and all of them to keep the divide and conquer going and do everything they can. The Black Panthers and whatnot, for all that they've been maligned as being against white people, In the olden days, in the early days, they were looking for white people like me who realized that we had more in common with the black community than we could ever with a bunch of rich white guys who lived and worked on Wall Street. We're the white trash in their eyes. That's what we are to the rich and powerful. So we should totally, cross those racial divides, team up. We need to do everything we can to get as many people fighting them so that they can no longer prey upon us and divide and conquer us. Fuck them for daring to try to push more division. And that is the problem of the times that we're living under. It's the Ben Shapiros of the world who want to keep us fighting each other so that we don't team up and overthrow these bastards. That is the truth. And I'm taking a breath because you tell me to calm down. And you are right. I should. But when you see it, when you see it so self-evidently, when the truth is so obvious and people just they're not fighting the goddamn state, like this video suggests, they're not they're fighting to keep us, they're doing what they can to further the divide between people. Is that's what's been going on for the most part, and they keep doing it, because it's been working for a long time. So they don't want you to buy into theories of intersectionalism. They don't want you to cross and start teaming up with Sank and have those experiences. No, because they can't have that. The one thing the rulers fear the most is unity. That's the one thing that they're truly terrified of, and that's the one thing I'm for.